Hey, it's Brennan again, and this is the second part of making a webcomic page. For those of you who don't read my webcomic, I don't really write that well, and I don't plan that well. So everything in the comic is improvised from page to page. There's like this kind of soft outline that I go by of things that I want to get to, but from page to page, the writing for each page and the dialogue is made up the week that I actually make the page. So right now it's 12:42 a.m. Sunday, and I've got my page due tomorrow, which is Monday. So I've got like less than 24 hours to make this page. I had all week to actually draw and plan and do everything on this page, but I've been playing video games a lot this week, and this happens a lot where it's down to the last hours and it's time to make the comic, which it kind of makes it seem kind of crunched, but it's almost more fun to do it this way, to just do it all in one small time period. So anyways, this is the second part where we do the writing, and the first thing we do is figure out what the page is going to be about. So I'm going to make like a list, like a bullet point list. After that, we'll sketch out some shots and ideas for what could happen that correlates with this bullet point list. We'll arrange those sketches to fit the page, do a little bit of editing, and then finish up with fixing the gutters. But first, we've got to do that bullet point list. Okay, so the number one thing about this page, I want this page to show that the character Biggs is still alive, and he is the one who rescued Nos and Nick from their big fall. So I'm just going to put at the top, Biggs is alive. He's alive. So there's two different paths I could go with this. I could go with where Biggs automatically starts talking to Nick and explains that he can he can make it to where she can have her arm back, but it'll be a robotic arm, or he can jump on into explaining why the plan failed. So we're gonna have like two different sides. So we'll split this in half. On the one side, he can explain the arm technology. I just put this L in here. I left that out. So since Biggs wasn't involved in this time warp thing, he knows everything that happened between when Nos and Nick fell into the portal to when they came out. And during this time, Dr. Sexy Bones, with the help of this magic book, was able to invent some really cool bioelectrical technology. And one of those things was bioengineering, like some fake limbs. So that would be a thing that he would explain, because that's not been really explained in the comic yet. He can explain this arm technology, and that it was invented by Dr. Sexy Bones. Probably while he was trying to win over the public, when he was trying to rise into power. There is a joke that I wanted to use that, so she's got her arm that's cut off, and it's like a stub, right? This is Nick's arm, and it's like a stub, but this part right here is like metal, so it can connect to things. So you could put like a robotic arm that would connect to this little plate so it could attach to her body. I would call this, Biggs is going to explain that it's called a human interface device, or a HID, a HID, which is like kind of a technology joke. So that's one way we could go with the story. Another way is we can have, Nick would probably ask, like, what happened back there? I thought Claire said that this was supposed to be easy. And then Biggs can explain about how the plan was botched. Explain the botched plan. I can't keep them in the hideout, so I would probably have it to where the alarm goes off. And then Biggs is going to check, like, the security monitors or something like that. So we've got kind of like an outline for two possible pages. But the thing is, I can't use them both on the same page. There's a lot of information. It doesn't look like a lot of information, but it's a lot to put in a comic page, you know. Actually, I could probably use both of these if I made this the first page, and then have it go over to this being the second page. So I actually wrote next week's page right here, or at least wrote the idea for it. From here, I'm just gonna jump into Photoshop. We'll just start doodling, trying to find out how I'm gonna translate this first page right here into a comic page, or at least, some sort of thumbnail or something. So the sketching part took about an hour to do, and since it took so long, and I was really taking my time with it, trying to figure out what the characters are going to be talking about. Usually when I'll figure out the dialogue for the very first page, and then since I've already got it figured out while I'm drawing, the first panel. While I'm drawing the first panel, I'm thinking about the dialogue and ideas on what's going to happen on the next panel. So there's nothing special about this. All it is just a new canvas in Photoshop and just sketching. And whenever I run out of room, I'll just extend the canvas a little bit bigger. It doesn't matter if you're using high DPI or not on this part, because it's not going to be seen later on. It's just a sketch that you're going to use for your guide. So now that I'm finished with the sketching, we have came up with 4 panels, which is a little light on, visuals, but the dialogue is there. Going over what we have, the first panel here is an establishing shot. You can see the background that they're in the small room that Nick is in. Forgot to draw Nos in the foreground, so I'll have to add that later. The next shot is a close-up of Nick, which won't have a background probably. And the last 2 panels are just some side shots, which will look very similar to each other. They'll have a really simple background. Now this next part is probably going to be trying to arrange these to actually fit a certain way on our page. So I'm going to take this first panel and I'm going to drag it over here where I have the template open. And the template's a little bit loud, I would say. So I'm going to down the opacity on it because all I'm really worried about is staying inside the blue. So I'm going to bring that down way down. So first let's get all of our pieces in. So we're just going to drag these over and we'll bring these last 2 pieces over with each other. It's just drag and drop. Okay, now that we have them all on the same page, I need to kind of resize some things here because as you can see some of this is too big. So I'm just going to scale it down. This is going to be our bottom panel. And I want it all the way down there, so that's a good spot. The next one's this middle panel. Well, let's get this top panel working right too. So I'm going to drag this middle panel away. And I like that spot for it. I'm just going to have to extend the background. I'm going to have to draw the background a little bit bigger. And this middle panel will go in the middle. So that's actually the setup, actually. The only other thing, I probably need to resize this top one. Make it a little bit smaller. So there we go. About right there. And I'll bump it up just a couple of pixels. We've arranged it to fit the page. Next is the editing, which I'm not really sure if it needs much editing. I'm fine with the dialogue, and just a couple things need to be redrawn, like this last panel here. It probably needs to be redrawn, but I'll do that as I'm inking. I'll also fix extending the background on the top panel once I'm inking too. So we're just going to skip the little editing. We're going to go straight to gutters. So with the gutters, I'm going to create a new layer on top. I'm going to grab my brush, and I like to use a 30 pixel brush for my gutters. I'm going to make a square all the way around it first. I'm going to keep shift turned on for my little menu bar or radial bar here. I'll just start up here and just make a stroke down. And I'm pretty much just outlining the blue area too. And I'm trying to vary my width as I go. That way it's got a more organic feel to it, because I want it to look kind of not perfect, because I'm really going for like a really, I wouldn't say it's a natural feel, it's just a more, if everything's uniform like the way it is in Flash, then it'll look kind of super mechanical. Okay, and now for the gutters. I do have a little, it's kind of like a template that I go by, but it's just to make sure that my gutter sizes are the same every time. So I've got this little square drawn out on this layer that I've been using for a long time. So it's not really going to matter, but if you want your gutters to always be the same width, as in from this line to this line, then you might want to follow like a small template, or try to come up with something for yourself. Now I like to make a new layer for these gutter lines too, and it doesn't matter where I draw these gutter lines because I'm going to be moving them. So let's go ahead and trace them. That'll do. And I just need to do it once because I'm going to copy the layer and then I'm going to move it up. Now I do have a horizontal gutter that I'm going to have to do over here, so I'm going to copy the layer one more time, and I'm going to go to Edit, Free Transform, and just rotate it. Now we'll just jam it right there. And that's pretty good. Grab my eraser tool and start erasing this a little bit closer. I'm going to leave it a little dirty at the ends too, because like I said, I like it to look a little bit messy. Like if there's a stray line that's not supposed to be there, I'm going to leave it there, because it makes it feel like more of a real ink. Like I really inked it. Like sure, maybe I used a ruler, which would be the shift. And that is the gutters. And when I unhide my sketch and bring the opacity up, you can see that they fit in pretty good. On the next video, we're going to be doing lettering and ballooning. We're going to look at some font choices, or even look into some custom fonts. We're going to be making the balloons. I'm going to show you how I make the balloons. And I do have a sound effect on there for the door, so I'm going to show you how I do my sound effects too. But anyways, thanks for watching this one. And I'm sorry it took so long. Like I said, all week I was playing video games, and I'm just trying to scramble to get this page finished. And this is usually how it works every week. But The next video should come pretty soon here because, like I said, I got to work on this for the next 24 hours. But anyways, thanks for watching this one. I hope to see you in the next one, and bye.